Welcome, everyone. I'm Bill Hannafin. I'm the managing editor of The Wise Marketer. I'm here today with Mario INVERNIZZI, who's Senior Vice President, EMEA from Snipp Interactive. Mario, how are you?
Hi, Bill. Very, very fine. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for having me today.
It's really good to see you. So this is the first time that we've met, and we were just saying, here I am in the US beginning my day, and you're in Italy, correct?
Absolutely. Actually, it's 5+ p.m. my day. So after this call, few duty, and then I wrap up my day. So happy for me, not so happy for you guys in America, but that's it.
Very good. Very good. And what city, where are you based in Italy?
I'm based in Milano City. Yep.
Okay, that's great. That's a beautiful city. So you know, the focus of today's conversation, I really wanted to learn about you, about what some of your activities are, but I really, you know, there's so much activity in your region, in this EMEA region. And so I wanted to hopefully talk about that a little bit and find out, you know, where the growth is, where some of the trends are, and maybe if you have a story or two that you can share with us of interesting things that are taking place in the market. I thought that'd be very interesting. So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, a good place to start is just to hear about you a little bit. How did you? I'm always interested in how people find their way in the customer loyalty business, right?
Yeah, that's a kind of funny story, or let's say by opportunity. So it was like kind of 14, 15 years back. At that time, I was selling a pretty complicated platform to investment bankers. And so I was spending my time in Milano, Frankfurt, London, Paris, where the big investment bankers are located here in EMEA, and sometimes coming in New York as well, where my company was headquartered. Yeah. Then the 2008 came, you know, fantastic fiscal crisis.
Right.
And a big company came and bought totally my company at that time. And so my chief executive told me, either we stay, who knows what is going to be happening, or we just bought a little toy from San Francisco, company named Loyalty Lab. Would you mind to run this in EMEA? I say, why not? I didn't know anything about the company. It was my first time in the loyalty business. Again, this was like 14 years back. Then has been making 3-4 major startup of loyalty MarTech provider here in EMEA. So actually pretty matter expert, I would say. Mm-hmm. But I started up as a real opportunity, but actually I told myself as an end client, as a member of a loyalty program, because for my frequent traveler, I was running loyalty program for traveling, for hotel reservation, hospitality, etc. I say, eventually I don't know so much about the platform and the business, but I know a lot about how I feel living and breathing in a loyalty program. I believe I know what I like, what I dislike, what is working, what is not working. So let's give it a try. And actually the try was a good one. And now, again, it's been more than 14 years in different companies. And actually, a good other story I like to tell you, Bill, is it was at the beginning of the pandemic situation that was eventually not a good choice for me, but I decided to leave my company at that time to join a client I sold to the loyalty platform to build their loyalty program. Because I say, actually, I'm missing something. I'm really missing to breathe and live what is really happening behind the scene in a client premises, right? So when we guys sell, it's kind of everything is working, everything is gold, everything is easy. It's not easy at all. And so I decided to get such kind of experiences that was much more than getting a certification. So I joined a company for a term period, like 6 to 9 months, to help them to implementing. So working with the sales team, working with the marketing team, working with the IT, with the ops, with all the mess of the ecosystem, the loyalty program should be dialoguing with. And it was a fantastic experience. And now this program is in production, is running well, many clients, big ROI, everybody happy. And I learned a lot about, again, what is happening on the other side of the coin. See what I mean? I mean, living what the clients are doing with our,
I think there's
and that was very striking.
Right. It really helps you probably in your position today because unless you understand what maybe the client is going through, and they have so many things to worry about, maybe in addition to the loyalty program that you're talking to them about. So really helps you
Absolutely,
understand.
yes. Absolutely, yes. And
Yeah.
then again, to close the story, I came to meet, again, not by chances, but I came to meet Mr. Atul Sabharwal, so the founder and chief executive of Snipp. And then I fell in love with the people, the team, the platform, and actually 2 years and a half, I'm running such a business here for them, and very happy. And happy to talk a bit about also who we are actually with you today, Snipp.
Yeah, and I want to hear a little bit about who you are, because Snipp has a tremendous growth story. When I first encountered the company, it was maybe had a certain focus, and maybe it was on the receipt capture and on the CPGs and FMCGs, you would say. But I think it's much more than that, and you're probably experiencing a lot of this opportunity in your region in particular. And I don't know about you, but like we're seeing a lot of growth in the U.S. So despite all the talk about recession and the economy and challenges, there's a lot of activity here. But we also see from our end, even more so in the EMEA region, tremendous growth and opportunities. And tell us just what you're seeing, what the market looks like to you right now.
Yeah. So you're right, Bill. I mean, I believe kind of because we are trying to fill in the gap a bit, meaning, the loyalty program has been very successful in North America and Canada and Asia Pacific. EMEA is not really coming as an early adopter all the time, and that was the case again. So we got many major programs in the travel, hospitality, telco, utility, the big B2C kind of companies, but we didn't get in the other verticals so much traction as actually happened in other parts of the global curve. Now I believe we are filling the gap. Now I believe retailer, and after the retailer, many other verticals understood the value of loyalty program, meaning the value of the data that the loyalty program are helping client to gather, to collect from their end client, to understand their client, to understand their behavior, to anticipate their behavior eventually, et cetera, et cetera. So what I see is that almost every big retailer actually got a loyalty program aboard. I remember some of the more iconic are the Decathlon or the Adidas or the Nike, the big, retail kind of company, but actually every retailer is trying to build something closer. But we see a lot in other verticals. As you say, we are very, very specific to the product company, generically speaking. I would say FMCGs, as well as the big manufacturing company, where they need, and I believe also the pandemic was kind of supporting this kind of growth. They understood that the result other verticals obtain in understanding their client better, creating more personalized, contextualized interaction with them was really rewarding. And so now we see, beside the utility, the telco, the travel, hospitality, et cetera, some other verticals, including FMCGs or big product company, really keen to create a loyalty program. Can be B2B, if not B2C, or B2B2C, just following all the path along the distribution channels and landing to the end consumer. But that's something we see emerging for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and Snipp is involved in a lot of different things. I talked to the Gambit Rewards people not too long ago, and that's a fascinating
I know.
kind of emergence, like something that we haven't seen before in the loyalty business. But is that business exclusively in the US right now, or have you been able to take advantage of that in Europe?
So it started from US because, I was just watching the interview you executed with our friend Richard Piastilli, the founder and chief executive of Gambit.
Yes.
They got the final kind of deregulation and certification within the United States at 2018, 2019. Now the issue is we have to kind of redo the same kind of path in every country where we want to land, because as you know, Europe is not United States. I mean, UK is UK, Italy is Italy, France is France, Germany is Germany, and it's different to everybody else. And so the law is typically kind of 80% the same everywhere, and 20% some kind of nuances that are requiring you to redo all the due diligence, et cetera, et cetera. But for sure, starting from the UK, we want to land with Gambit. In terms of gamification per se, UK and Italy and Spain are the country in Europe where we are investing a lot of money in gaming, online gaming, and betting.
Okay.
Even if, as you know, Gambit is nothing about using any currency, any money, but is using token,
Right.
just and going to eroding the huge liability of unused point whenever in the loyalty program to transfer these for ticket to execute online gaming, online sports betting.
Right.
We are landing. I believe late 2033, 2024 will be the time where Gambit will be fully available for everybody here in EMEA as well.
No, that's pretty soon then. Yeah. So you're just mentioning these contrasts between the US and Europe, and there are a lot. But how about this, particularly, I think about data privacy and these data regulations that are being put into place. Europe is leading, and the EU is leading, in my view. The US is kind of following. But what does it do to you, and just in managing customer data in these loyalty programs? Are you having to make a lot of adjustments to stay in compliance with these regulations?
So yes and no. I mean, the GDPR is a big discussion. We started heavy like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And for sure at the beginning, many loyalty programs, many, if you like, CRM extended programs being delayed because people were really trying to get and understand how to manage data without falling in a severe uncompliancy issue and claim from end client. So for sure, there was a timing where the loyalty growth was kind of stopped because we need to look around and understanding about the new law.
Mm-hmm.
But let me rephrase a bit. Actually, I have been telling to our prospect, partner, client, etc., what at the end of the day loyalty is, the new loyalty, okay? So engaging people based on trustful relationship, based on transparency, based on commitment that if Mario is giving some data about him to a brand, this brand is not abusing of such a data. The brand is using such a data only for the purpose of the request that came to me. And for sure, is not selling any of this data to anybody else if I'm not giving my opt-in. Now, if we build an engagement program that is not just a transactional, typical point per currency kind of algorithm, okay, in something more based again on trust, on transparency, and our commitment, I believe GDPR came to the good time to assess and support this commitment. So for sure, we had to talk more with legal than with marketeers for a while. We had to talk more internally to our operation IT to make sure that we were kind of certifying and complying to all the, in terms of data processing, clouds, et cetera, But honestly speaking, we were, and I believe that most of us were already working in an environment that was very relying on the same element and purpose that built the GDPR. So to me, the GDPR is really supporting, is really giving now more growth boost to loyalty program, underlining the brand is serious. The brand commit not to abuse of your data, Mr. Bill. Give me your data. I'm going to serve you the best as I can. And so I like to see this as an opportunity rather than a blocking factor. Even now, after 5 years. 5 years ago, I wasn't telling the same. It was a big mess. It was a big...
Right. But there's an opportunity, I think, for people like you and others in the business to lead this change. And I think in the beginning, like always, we're afraid, it's uncertain where the regulations are headed. So people are very concerned. Now, I think we look at it, like you said, as an opportunity. You can turn this into an advantage the way you create your technology and deliver your programs to actually give more assurance to your clients, right?
Absolutely, yes. That's the point.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about the consumer's different too. So they've talked a lot in the US about during the pandemic that a lot of consumer behaviors changed. Some have gone back to the way they were beforehand, and some seem like there's some permanent change. People, I would say, are looking for more friction-free type of transactions. maybe people aren't even taking receipts as much, or maybe they're looking for some sort of a mobile checkout. All sorts of things. Ordering ahead is really popular. All those things in retail, at least. So, but anyway, there's a lot of change going on, and I'm just curious, like, what are you seeing in terms of like the changes in consumer behavior in your region that you think are going to be more permanent, more lasting?
Yeah. So, I mean, for sure, I mean, it's not me to say something that we already have been telling so many times in the latest 2-3 years. Our habit and clients' habit has been changing so dramatically. The channel we typically execute the transaction, the velocity, the rapidity, the frequency, everything has been changing. But again,
Right.
because I like to be positive and I don't like too much to hide behind the circumstances that might be negative. I try to see how we can overachieve this and create a positive factor. Now, I remember kind of 10 years ago, we were talking about multi-channel loyalty program. And then since the latest 3, 4, 5 years, we talk about omni-channel. That is a kind of extremization of the concept, but it's still to say the same. Dear brand, you have to open up as many channels, as many touch points to your end client so that everything is happening, like unfortunately what happened, you still have some touch point open so your client can reach you, can dialogue with you, can make acquisition with you. Now, we all know that we have been just buying through online for, 18 months or so because everything was kind of shut down. Now, with all the respect to people who've been suffering for the pandemic, I would say if every brand would have been already investing in the digital asset, I remember some data from Gartner Group, I'm not precise now, but let's say 75% of the transactions are executed passing through at least 3-4 major different touch points the brand is offering to the client, meaning despite we might be going on-prem to make an acquisition, before doing so, we surf the internet, we go to some couple of marketplace, we go to the online of the given brand we are dealing with, we go to the social to see some survey feedback, we chat with advocates, we talk to friends, either we are already, navigating through many touch points. Brand are opening up for us to keep the conversation going, to avoid that if one of these channels is broken somehow for any reason, there is a huge risk in terms of revenues, client satisfaction, and user journey, et cetera, et cetera. So again, not minimizing what happened, that was something unbelievable and hopefully is not coming anymore. But I would say the one who are more digital savvy and who could be digital savvy based on the business they deliver, and they open up more touch point to dialogue with their clients, they suffer the least. On the other side, I'm thinking to something as Snipp we just produced that is a kind of analysis of the beauty and top cosmetic business in both North America and EMEA here, where we are saying that people has been changing habit in terms of decision process when they want to buy something. And more and more, we are listening about companies who are fostering diversity concept or inclusivity concept, or they are going to explain how the product they're building, they're manufacturing are sustainable, are green, are greener than yesterday. Again, some other survey I got in my top of my mind are telling me there is a nice 50% of people who are including to the decision process some of these elements, sustainability, just to mention one. And we see in the cosmetic beauty business, because of the pandemic, they find a new way to recollect their client back to make transaction with them, insisting a lot in communicating on these different items and arguments, how they're good in creating product, how they're good in distributing product, how they're good in maintaining the hair, at least as it is, and not damaging it even more. You see what I mean? So we see a lot of change. And again, content is king. as for many marketing processes, even in the loyalty program, content is king and is a viable vehicle to explain to end client beauty of your product or your processes of your engineering, etc., to attract to engage more client. And that's again is about loyalty and engagement, not just based on transaction.
Yeah, that's great. That's really interesting. It makes me want to ask, just so that I like to crystallize things and make it really in plain English as much as possible, or plain language. Could be Italian, could be English, either one. But what if I were just talking to you and said, Mario, what is the most common type of problem, or think of a problem, challenge, opportunity that you've had with a client? What does Snipp do that's unique in solving that problem for them? And like, give us, well, you don't have to name a brand or anything, but just an idea of like a very interesting type of problem these days that you're typically solving for someone.
Yeah. So let me say what I did like, and I still liking about Snipp, is the combination of our platform to help and support brands to execute from very small, slim, skinny promotion, shopper engagement activities, just for launching a product or for creating some brand awarenesses or just to increase some revenues in a specific category or subcategory, and long-lasting multi-years loyalty program. So when we typically talk about loyalty program, we talk about something pretty long, requiring a great investment, and requiring also a kind of long vision from the counterpart standpoint. That's absolutely something we can do in Snipp, but also we have a very powerful capabilities, also supported by our premium OCR-based, machine learning-based receipts and invoice scanning technology to support shopper engagement activity that can become overlay promotion on the top of a loyalty program. So just to say, in these days, we see many FMCGs insisting their loyalty program to execute this kind of shopper experience and promotion to increase back the foot traffic. Show that you buy something, meaning go to the grocery place, buy something, and then something is going to be happening. And so this combination of that actually can solve and reply to every different appetite of brands, small investment, big investment, huge investment, why not, in different timing, but bringing all this data within the same system to help to elaborate zero-party data and first-party data they collect about us as a consumer to be more personalized, to be more relevant, to be more contextual. And that's, I believe, is something that Snipp is doing much better than many other companies have been working with and competitors I'm kind of sniffing about.
That's great. It's great. That's just what I was hoping to hear. That's very interesting. So hey, tell us one thing as we wrap up. What should we know about the EMEA region that I haven't asked you, or what's kind of like percolating in your brain daily that that's interesting to you that you think people should know?
I mean, EMEA is very different to United States for many elements, and one is the way we distribute, the way they distribute product. I was talking to a huge beverage FMCGs, not making a name, with whom we are doing so much business and successful revenues in North America and Canada. And I say, I'm frustrated. I'm not doing that much here. What is going on? And then I discover that even if this is a kind of number one in the business they do, in North America and Canada, they handle all the flow from the production, the manufacturing, the distribution, the logistic, the marketing investment. Here in the old EMEA, the most of them sometimes are still using third parties distribution system because they came a bit later and because the business is so fragmented, mostly here in Spain, in the Mediterranean countries, let me say, in France as well, that even a big FMCGs like the one that again I'm not mentioning, they are not making so much marketing investment because all of these is relying on and is a duty of their distributor.
Right.
So nothing bad for me. It means I need to talk more to the distributor than to the FMCG directly. And that is where we're going to discover the the gold mine of the business we can run, but it's a very different also from the logistic and distribution standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Then logically, I mean, the decision power sometimes is really spread out because we are not one big country like you guys in America. You know that.
Right.
We have the geographical Europe, we have the economical Europe that does not match the first, and then we have the political Europe that does not match the first and the second. So sometimes decision power is somewhere where the EMEA headquarters is, but locally speaking, big countries like Germany or UK, sometimes Italy as well, they are resisting against the headquarters, if you see what I mean. So it's a nice way of managing all of them as a sales competence to make all of them on the same page and finding a way to make a business with them and finding their ROI that is fitting their needs country by country in different way. But I don't see so much difference, maybe more than that. I mean,
no, those are significant differences. You know, I think that some people outside of this loyalty business tend to simplify it, and because they just judge the business by the fact that they see so many programs that are spending and receiving, like you said, points-based, currency-based. If they had any idea the complexity of understanding and creating these solutions, what you're describing here, it kind of supports a premise that I have, like we're a consultant and an advisor, you're really part management consultant in a lot of ways. You have to understand, look at the distribution chain, their financial model, how they're making money, and then
financial model is super different. Yeah. You're spot on. Exactly.
And you have to make all those adaptations, right, to fit different situations. So,
But that's why we're here. So happy to be here in EMEA, my home country, kind of. It's a pretty big home country, but happy to be in Snipp for sure.
Well, if you joined us late, we've been talking to Mario INVERNIZZI, who's Senior Vice President, EMEA with Snipp Interactive. Mario has been sharing so much good information about just the differences in markets between, say, North America, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and then some of the trends in business, trends in consumer behaviors here. But Mario, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you setting aside time because I know you've got so many things happening all at once.
I appreciate it, Bill. I mean, you have me here, and thank you to you and all the Wise Marketer team, and happy to do it again if it makes any sense in the near future.
Absolutely. Yep. I will make time for that anytime. So really enjoy the conversation, and I look forward to having a chance to get to know you a little bit better. But thanks everyone for joining us.
Have a good day.
All right.